Hi everyone. I just recently finished grading assignment 4, and one of the things that I noticed was that a lot of you had a hard time creating an appropriate graph within Excel. Some of you even opted to draw your graph. I know that within the instructions it did say that this was acceptable. However, given that we are in 2016 and you are all future behavior analysts, it really is crucial that you gain an understanding of how to use Excel and how to graph in Excel. Once you're out in the field, if you aren't already there or not already graphing your data, this really is a key way to present your data, especially at any type of formal meetings and so on. It's not really very professional to present hand-drawn graphs at a CSE meeting or any type of educational, or if you work with adult services, any type of formal meeting. You really need to present your data via Excel or another type of graphing program or software where you have a printed out graph and not a hand-drawn one. So anyway, we're just going to get started. We're going to go through the activities from the questions in activity 4. So we're going to start off with our friend Wilbur here, who for him we were graphing the number of questions answered for our first graph. So as you can see, I've already put all the data in here, and we're going to get started with graphing. But before we get started with graphing, we want to make sure that these columns here, our numbers are formatted correctly. So as you can see from here, when I put the dates in, I'll just put another one in, 1:30. It goes to that type of format. One of the things you'd want to do is change this format. So to do that, you highlight the column you'd like to change like that by clicking on the A, and you're going to go over here what says this is general. So this is the format of your text and the way it's going to look on your graph and the way it's going to look in your spreadsheet. So we want to click on this and change it. So you can see there's number, currency, accounting, short date, long date, etc. So, and then there's also over here more number formats. So I'm going to go into this just so you can see all the different ways to change it. So we're looking at date. So we click on date, and you figure out which type of date do you want. How do you want your date to look? So for our purposes, we're going to go with this format where we just have the month and the day with the slash. There's also other things, as far as formatting your cells, the alignment, the font, the border, etc. We don't really need to look at that right now. So anyway, so we're putting at 314. We just hit OK, and that changes the format. This is much cleaner, much easier presented on the graph. It doesn't crowd the graph as much as if you have it formatted a different way. So now to actually insert your graph, you select the columns, the data set that you'd like to create your graph with. You go over here to insert, and then you go over here to the types of charts that they offer. For our purposes for Wilbur right now, we're doing a line graph. So you click here. These are all the various types of line graphs. These line graphs over here, they do not include markers. You need to have markers, especially if you're graphing something in APA format. Markers are required. On 3D, this is not appropriate, probably ever in our field. We're not looking to dazzle. We want our graphs to be clear and concise, so this way we know that people are seeing exactly what we want to show. Again, this is great, but you really can't see where your data points are. It's just showing a line up and down. It's not showing specific data points. So this is the one we're picking. All right, so you click on that, and you can see here's our basic graph. The title does automatically shoot up, but you're not always going to get labels on the X and Y axes. We need to add those in separately. So to do that, you go to Add Chart Element, Axis Titles, Primary, which is our X. We will just type in date. Now we'll go back to Add Chart Element again, Axis Titles, Vertical. And over here, we would write frequency of questions answered. Okay, so now our title is not the worst title. We could make it a little bit more specific. From the example that's provided in the answer key, it says questions answered by Wilbur. That does give a little bit more detail. This way we know who is answering the questions. So I'm just actually going to copy this and then just paste it right into here. So to paste or to edit the graph title, you just click on it. To paste over, you highlight and hit paste. And it didn't work. Okay, or you could just type it in. Questions answered by Wilbur. Okay. All right, so this is our graph. We have our titles, our axes appear to be formatted appropriately. Everything looks good. All right. There are just a few elements we need to change as far as the line is actually concerned. One of the things we first should change is the color. Yes, blue is lovely. However, for appropriate APA format, it needs to be black. We're looking at graphs that are in black and white. We do not use color. Typically, when you're printing graphs anyway, you're not printing in color. So any colors or designs you put in are not going to show up anyway when they're printed. So to change the colors of the line, we just double click on it, and then this box over here will show up Format Data Series. So first we're going to look at the line and changes that. So we're going to change the color to black. Now we're going to change the color of the marker. So you need to change the fill and the outline. So first we'll change the fill. See, now the dots are black, but the outline around it is still blue, so we need to change that. Okay, so now our graph is more appropriately formatted, but now we have one last problem we need to fix, and that is the fact that we have a line connecting from here to here. On the 22nd and the 23rd, there were no data recorded, so we cannot have a line connecting across. I know that some of you in your assignment graphed this as sessions, and this kind of got around having to disconnect the line. However, according to what was required in the session, you were required to graph by date and not by sessions. So to take this out, what you want to do is click on your dots, but you need to only have the dot or the data point before the line you want to remove highlighted. So you do that, so it's just here, and you go to back to line, and you're going to click on no line, and that removes it. Now you have a clean, fresh way of looking at your data. The next thing we want to do is we want to get rid of these lines right here. So to do that, again, it's all about clicking. You go to the line vertical, and you click it, and you just click no line, and that's gone. With new Excel, compared to the previous version of Excel, you notice when you do that, you don't have a line over here. You do still have a line over here. This is just kind of the way this new version is formatted now. In the older versions, you would still see the line here. But this is the way it looks now. So that's our graph for questions answered by Wilbur. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next example. We have the next question on this that required graph, question 2. So for this, we're looking at the questions answered by Wilbur compared to the number of questions actually asked by the teacher. So there are multiple ways to graph this. We're not going to graph in percents. I'm going to show you a percentage example for the following question. So for this, I'm going to show you this format in a line graph and also in a bar graph. Okay, so as you can see, I already have everything graphed and ready to go. I already have the data in and everything like that. So for our first graph, I'm just going to make this a little bigger so we can see it. Again, we have, the same issue where we don't have everything don't have things connected. We also have different colors going on here. We still have our lines, everything like that. So again, we'll work on first removing. We'll work on getting the properly color scheme here, so this way we don't have all these different colors in here. So this way also too, you want to think if you have two sets of data, when you do change the colors to black and white, which is the way your graph is going to be printing, you want to make sure that you can clearly tell the difference between these lines. All right, so click on that, so this way our helpful formatting box comes up. So go back, click on this paint bucket over here, and we're going to change our colors. Change everything to black. Our marker, change that to black. The border of our marker, change that to black as well. So, all right, so now this first set of data is good. We have it all in black and white. We have a circle as our data point. There you go. So now for this one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to change it to black. I'm going to change our markers to black, our outline to black. And then what we're going to also do is we're going to change the way our marker looks. So this way that our two data sets don't have the same data points or data marker in place. So to do that, you go to marker options, click the arrow. You're going to click on built-in, and then you can change what you want. Next step from here, I would suggest square. Honestly, if you wanted to go triangle or diamond, that's fine as well. These are kind of hard to see, so I would suggest one of these three for your second data mark. Click on that. And if you want to, you could also change the size, make it a little bit bigger so it's more pronounced on the graph. You could do that with this as well. Your marker, change the size, marker options, size to 7. Just makes it a little bit easier to see on the graph. So those are our questions answered by Wilbur. We have our title, we have our X and Y-axis and X-axis titles. We have our legend down here. If you're only graphing one set of data, such as we did on the previous graph, you do not need the legend. You can just simply click on it, the legend, and then hit delete, and that will take it away, but we'll undo that. Okay, one last thing. We need to remove that line from here. So again, we want it so that only the one dot is highlighted. We go over to this, to the paint bucket again, we hit no line, and that will remove. So now we need to get the other one. This sometimes becomes a little tricky if we have overlapping data, so we'll click there, and then we'll click. It also tells us too, number of questions asked by teacher. So that's the one we want, so we click on that. Okay, just to confirm we have the right one, line. Okay, so, all right, as you can see, this is not, sometimes this happens with Excel, and don't get frustrated because I'm actually glad that this happened. Since these two data points meet, it's kind of hard to differentiate which is which. So all you have to do, because we're looking to take this line out right here, so that's for our student. So I would suggest just putting a different value in that's different from that, so there's no overlap. So I'm just going to stick 5 in, and that will change the graph. Did it in the wrong spot. So we want to look at this one, change that to 5. Okay, so click on that. Now a little bit easier. Go to the paint bucket again, no line. Okay, change this back to 2. There you go. So that makes that a little bit easier. Excel can sometimes be a little tricky to work with. It doesn't always work exactly the way we want it to, but don't get frustrated. Just keep trying. You'll figure it out. And also, too, if you look on YouTube, there's a lot of different videos and tutorials to help you with this stuff as well. Okay, so now we have over here, we have our bar graph. And, you know, this as well, we went to insert. Over here, these are our various types of bar graphs. Column graphs is what they're labeled if they're going up and down. They're labeled bar graphs in Excel if they're going horizontally. So, again, over here we have, you know, different colors. We don't really want these different colors if we want to make sure we have something clearly indicates difference when we're printing in black and white. So again, you just do it exactly the same way you did before. You go over to the paint bucket. You want to change your color to black. You have to make sure you change your border as well. And then this one we can change it to a gray. And there you go. Okay, so the last thing as well too is just getting rid of these lines. Again, we just click on them, no line. Over this graph as well, click on it, no line. Okay, I'm going to scroll down, move this one down so you guys can see. There's that, and there's that, those graphs. Okay, so now we're going to look at percentage, and we're going to be using the third graph, which was Billy screaming. We're going to show this one as a percent. Okay, so as you can see here, I have our days. I didn't put a percentage in. I did write just the raw data, 3 out of 8, and then I calculated the percentage, and I just put it here. And this is all really just to show you guys all the information so you have it right in front of you. So the first thing you want to do, again, we have to format the data that's going in over here. how do we want this displayed on the graph? Right now, if I was to put values in, we wouldn't see a percentage, we would just see a regular number. So again, we're going to highlight, and we're going to go over here to percentage, change it to percentage. Now, when you're doing percentages, I suggest you change it before you put the data in. And the reason why is sometimes if you do it prior to putting the data in, your percentages won't come out right. Again, this all kind of goes down to Excel always not behaving appropriately. So that's how we do that. All right, so now we can see we have this out to various decimals. This pretty much happened because this one right here, it is 37.5. Sometimes this might happen just because Excel will present the data that way, but it's a very easy fix if you don't want decimals in your graph, or it's not appropriate for what you're graphing, or you just decided that there are no decimals, so there's no reason to bring this out to the tens, hundreds, or hundreds place. So you just highlight this column again, and then you go over to these two buttons right here. This moves your decimal points. So if we want to move our decrease the decimal, you click on this one. If we want to increase, I'll show you increase first, so you can bring it all the way out. Or you can decrease it, you just click. So we have a 0.5. If we wanted to round up, say, we just click again, and then it rounds it up to us automatically to 38%. So we're going to keep ours out here since we do have the percentage with a decimal in it. So now the next thing we need to do, I'm just going to have to change this. And we need to change our range, our numbers, to the percentage in here as well. Change our decimal places to 1. For this, though, we actually don't want any decimal places because, see, that makes our graph look a little crowded, so we just put it like that. Now, the next thing we need to do is, now, decimals do not go up to, or percentages do not go up to 120%, so we need to change this. So, to do that, we go over to axis options, and we want to change our maximum. So with percentages, it says 1.2, which would equal to 120%. So we just want to change this to 1, and then that brings this over here. Now for our major and our minor unit, you can just leave that as 0.1. That's fine for the minor. For the minor, you can leave it as 0.02. For the major, this is what we want our graph to go by. So right here we have it going by tens, 10, 20%, 30%. Now if you'd like to change that so it doesn't look as crowded, you can change it to 0.2. And then that will break up how many percentages you actually see on this side. Okay, so the next thing we need to do with this now is we're just going to change the colors of our graph. Again, paint bucket, after clicking on the data set, black, go to the marker, black, black. Okay. Take out these lines, no double click. Again, let me just show you double click, no line. Okay, so those are all the graphs that were presented in this assignment. As far as what's more appropriate for graph 2 and graph 3 that I showed you, really the best way to show your data is through a percentage graph like this one, so you can see the percentage of songs. Or if you decide to use the two sets, a bar graph does show it a little bit more clearly than the line graph does. As you can see, we're kind of even losing the fact that this was overlapped in that spot. So those are probably the best ways to show the data. Okay, now the last thing I just want to show you is just very simple. How do you paste this graph into Microsoft Word? So I'm going to just open up Microsoft Word. Give my computer a second to open it. Okay, blank document, create. Okay, so just going to click on our graph like that. We hit edit, copy, and then we'll paste it. I'm going to do that again so you guys can see a little bit better. Copy. And then there's another option here that says copy as a picture. I'll show you the difference between those two in a second. So just do regular copy and then go over here, or however you paste, paste destination theme workbook. There we go. That's just your regular. So there we go. Now we have this nice graph that we created and it's pasted in our document. And we can write, this graph displays, etc. So other options to paste your graph is you can click on the graph, and we had over here copy as picture, as shown on screen or as shown when printed. So we'll do as shown when printed. Oops. Okay. So there's our graph pasted. So one of the things, if you paste it as a picture, one thing is that you can't edit the graph. See, it's a picture. This is not editable. There's nothing we can do to change it. If you paste it regular as it's formatted in Excel, you can actually go in and make changes to the graph. So let's say I want to change this. Questions, let's say, oh, it's not Wilbert, it's Jim. That's what the graph is. So you can change it in Microsoft Word. For this, you can't. You'd have to go back into Excel. Say you want to change a data point, you can click on it or change any of the formatting. Or you want to edit your data, you can go up over here, edit data. It will show you, it will open up in Excel, and then you can edit it, so forth. Okay, so that was my tutorial on how to graph in Excel. I hope that it was clear, and I hope that you guys all have a better understanding now of how to do this. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and good luck with the rest of the class. Thank you.